Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons match review with myself. And Mike is back. He does have his little one with him, so might have to be a little bit patient. But it's good to have you back on, Mike. And yeah, a win for West Ham to come back to 2-0 against Sheffield United. Pretty comfortable most of the game. We went into it with pretty much the 11 we thought, bar maybe Kudus coming in. Did you like the 11 that you saw going into it with kind of Soucek in the middle, Paqueta out wide?
I'm not really a fan of Paqueta out wide, if I'm completely honest. But whilst it's getting results, it's difficult to argue against it. Same with selection of Soucek. Personally, probably would have brought in Kudus over Soucek. That's not because Soucek's played badly. It's just that I'd like to see a bit more pace in the team. However, when results are going well, you can't really question the lineup, and it's getting the results, and it's doing what we need it to do.
Yeah, no, I was kind of the same in the preview. I thought it would be Paqueta out wide, but it's difficult to kind of fit everyone in at the moment because you've got Soucek who's playing well. You've got Ward-Prowse, who again is another player that you wouldn't want to be dropping. So he's trying to fit everyone in, and players like Ben Rama haven't really been performing, so he's trying to fit him out on the left. And we know Kudus isn't really natural on that left hand side; he'd be better in the middle. So it's hard to kind of fit it all in at the moment.
It's hard. However, that's what he's paid to do, right? The concern
It's a good
is
problem to have, isn't it? We don't normally
yeah,
have this
it's a
problem.
great problem to have. The concern that you always have is that we're pushing players out like Paqueta out into a position where potentially you limit his involvement in the game, in which to accommodate arguably three more defensively minded players. Now, Ward-Prowse is in there because we know, and this is probably going to sound bad, but we know that Moyes has a fascination and a fixation on set pieces. So Ward-Prowse is almost a given, and you know, it's a reason to be a player that won't ever be substituted purely because of, again, we talk about playing in moments. So
Yeah,
it's vital, and he's played really well. So again, he's not going to get dropped. And Soucek, we just know it's just not going to happen. Probably until we're about 10 games in, I don't think we'll see Kudus in the lineup, and even then, I think Antonio is the more likely player under threat at the moment in that 11 than any of that midfield.
yeah, no, I would agree. I think maybe yesterday, a lot of people were highlighting Sheffield United being weak on kind of set pieces and aerially this season. So maybe that's why he was also going towards Soucek. But we'll get onto that shortly. So first half, overall, I thought we played very well. Going back to when it was kind of 0-0, there was one moment that Sheffield United had really in that half, and it kind of lucky how it came about. They kind of crossed it in. Zuma sort of failed to clear it a little bit, rebounded into Archer. And then Aged, who's come under a lot of criticism, including myself, was there to make a very, very good block. And after that point, it looked pretty comfortable. But just little lapses of concentration in those moments where we don't need to be uncomfortable is what scares me. I know we ended up getting the clean sheet in the end, but especially in the second half, there were a few moments where Sheffield United, put a long throw in or a cross or a set piece, and sometimes we just look a little bit shaky. But I thought again in that situation done really well, and I thought he had a much improved performance yesterday.
Yeah, I think he needed a performance like that because, as you say, he has been much maligned for good reason. I did say last week as well, obviously not on here, but more on Twitter, that there was a lot made of, I think it was Liverpool's second goal, which was all down to him. But we've got to get past this idea of you just focus on one player, because again, that ball travelled so very far. The goalkeeper should be communicating with his two centre backs. Zuma should have been talking with Aged. Why was there no press on the actual player looking to play the ball? There are multiple things that we can say is a reason for a goal, and to consistently just focus on the final person or someone that we believe is, the main culprit, actually kind of, it allows other players really to get away with being lax, and that's something that I think we need to get past. The same with a goal. It's always easy to blame the last person, but sometimes the pass into them isn't great. I'm literally watching the highlights now, and there's one with Antonio. It's he had a really good opportunity, but the ball's whipped in, takes a massive deflection, and the ball slightly behind him, and people would have a go and say, "Well, I should have done better." When he gets the ball under control, but but then he's swarmed by 3 or 4 players. The ball was behind. There's always, we don't necessarily talk about the nuance or the wider happenings of a moment, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's always, because when you concede a goal, you always think like what actually happened at that precise moment. But like you mentioned, there's probably like 3, 4, or 5 things in the build up to a goal which probably don't get mentioned as much. But it's just how it is, especially with clips that go online. People see the end product and not the actual build up. So yeah, I think we know that we've been amazing from set pieces so far this season. It's why the likes of Ward-Prowse and Soucek have consistently been in the team and been playing well. And we looked pretty dangerous again from set pieces yesterday. In the first half, Ward-Prowse put in a very good set corner once again onto Bowen's head. Good save, and then again, it's rebound off the line. So the threat was still there. But the goal we scored is something that absolutely surprised me in terms of how we actually created it, because it's something we've said a lot. When we're expected to maybe win a match and expected to have more possession, maybe we struggle at times to break through a team with a pattern. That was a pattern. That was a really, really worked goal. Started with Alvarez, a nice little kind of reverse forward pass into Bowen, first touch into Soucek first time down the line to Kufal with an excellent ball. And then he crossed it in first time with another excellent ball into the path of Bowen, and first time finish into the bottom corner. And it's probably the first time I thought, wow, that is an impressive goal that we've scored, and we've created it off our own accord.
It's something we said all of last season. The times that we played with a little bit of impetus and a little bit of pace in our play, we look better.
Yeah.
When we're in possession, I don't think we're a great team in possession. Not just because we maybe lose it, but it's because that we don't change up the pace of our play quick enough, and we don't have enough movement off the ball sometimes in which to really kind of break down. And if you're playing against a low block and so on, you have to be able to change up the pace regularly, and you need to have good, incisive, and clever movement. And in that case, we did. Again, it was helped by the fact that Sheffield United let's just say they have pockets of space that you can exploit quite regularly. Definitely. In that first half. But again, that's the whole point, right? Someone like Alvarez is what I like about him, is that he will force the team in which to play quicker, because he pinged, I think, the ball into Soucek, who that before he lays it off.
Into Bowen and to Soucek. Yeah.
And it's that kind of takes one player to all of a sudden just fizz a pass into space, and then all of a sudden players come alive to the moment that's there. And I think we did, especially in the first half, we did that at times. We actually changed the pace of our play much quicker and had a bit of intent and purpose about how we used the ball. And also we looked to press off the ball, which again, that's what brought the second goal around, because we pressed off the ball and we were aggressive and quick. I think it was Emerson who wins the ball. And those are the types of things that will ensure us to, win the ball higher up, score goals much quicker, be much better in transition. Transition is not just winning the ball in your own half and then busting a lung to go 60 meters. It's about, that counter press, or just that when the opposition is trying to build up in their own half, is just catching them on the halfway line and then scoring within 2 or 3 touches. That's what great counter football is. And I think the first half, I actually I enjoyed watching us in the first half. I thought we showed some intent. Some of our possession play is a bit monotonous and slow. However, when we turn it up a bit, we did look good. Obviously, the McBurney incident in this first half, where they nearly scored directly after our second goal, was just again showed the lapse again, that we leave at times too many spaces. And that was an example where, in fairness to Aged, he had to step out in which to press the ball, because Zuma just sat in. But the problem is, when he does that, unless Emerson's then dropping into Aged's position, it's going to leave a space. And
it's one thing I don't like about when Aged and Zuma do that. I don't know. Yeah, maybe he should have pressed out in that moment, but 3 or 4 times yesterday, Aged and Zuma kind of step out to try and win the ball. They don't, and then it just leaves a massive space behind. And it is something that has happened a few times this season as well, and it's happened to result in a couple of goals in other games. So it's something we need to be careful of, and it's something that hopefully will get better over time. But in terms of that second goal that we scored, like you mentioned, it came from us actually pressing higher up and winning the ball, trying to be aggressive. And yeah, to be fair, Sheffield United, they didn't help themselves. They were trying to play out. They gave the ball away sloppily, but we were on it. And yeah, like you mentioned, Emerson did really well. Paqueta then ducked out cleverly to leave it for Antonio. Played it through to Soucek and got the second goal, and we went in 2-0 up. And like you mentioned, that first half was actually quite enjoyable to watch. It was relatively comfortable, other than those kind of couple of moments with McBurney and Archer. And then you're kind of thinking, okay, just keep on the front foot second half. Don't just sit back and sit in your shape and be happy with the 2-0, and we'll be fine. But that's what happened. And in the second half, I thought it was a pretty void performance, if you want to put it like that. We didn't really offer much going forwards in the second half at all. We were happy to kind of just sit in and see what Sheffield United had. They didn't have much, to be honest, other than a couple of long throws that troubled us, one corner and one cross. But all in all, the second half was pretty just. There's nothing really happened for us. We were just happy to kind of see out the match, weren't we, and get the 2-0 win.
Yeah, like what frustrated me in the second half, especially the first, say, 10 minutes or so, it just felt a bit unprofessional, in my opinion, in the sense of we just sat back so much. We gave them so much space.
Yeah.
And it's, yes, you're 2-0 up, but if they score within that first 5 minutes, the game changes.
Yeah.
And also, it's very hard then to switch your mentality back on to, we need to go out and chase this game again. We need to go and play. Because all of a sudden the impetus swings to them, and then you're playing catch up because you've come out with a really lax attitude. We allowed so much space. We do it all the time. Look at that Newcastle game against Sheffield United. They continue playing, and that's a mentality that if we want to be a top team, it's why Guardiola's team always looks to go and score as many goals as possible. It's why Newcastle did what they did, because they don't want to rest on their laurels. They want to make the point of, we need to know that we can attack, and we need to be able to attack teams for a full 90 minutes, because we need to know that we can score at any point. And we probably could have scored at any point in this game because of, quite frankly, how poor Sheffield United were.
Yeah.
But it just shows for me that the players are a bit inconsistent in their attitudes.
Yeah.
They didn't make any silly mistakes, but what they did was they offered far too much space. They lacked aggression. They lacked any kind of real, like, this game, they might trouble us here. It was just like, we'll see it out. And it was just an arrogance that wasn't really being backed up by their play. And there was like an incident where we kind of get the ball, and it's a kind of a shortish pass from Ward-Prowse to Aged. And again, just tries to just whip it straight out to Soufal, and it goes out of play. Now, in any other time, if that's not a McBurney and that's someone with pace, they potentially nip in to win the ball. And again, maybe then swings out to get the ball, but then doesn't get it, and it ends up getting the defender. Now, again, would get the blame for it, but it was sloppiness from Ward-Prowse in that instance. But it's not that I'm picking on those players. It's the fact that it's just that incident was, I guess, endemic of the attitude we had in those first kind of 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which was just like, it will be all right. We'll just knock it about. We'll just kind of jog around. They had a couple of really good incidents from corners in that first piece of it. Ahmedhovic had a
back post,
a great back post opportunity, but again, very well saved by Areola. But we're sitting again, it's great, 3 points. But there's just those little moments in games where you just go against a better team. And if we'd been against a better team, we very, very well could have been 2-2.
I think that's what it was. We were 2-0 up against the team that we thought we were coasting against, and we were pretty much coasting against. And the players themselves got complacent. They thought they could kind of stroll around in the second half. And to be fair, they didn't really offer much, Sheffield United, but that's not the level we should be kind of striving to do. It should be, okay, we're going to attack them just as much in the second half, still be defensively solid, but we should be, controlling the game in that situation. It shouldn't be Sheffield United trying to dictate and create stuff. So the only the only positive really for me in that second half is that we did keep the clean sheet, because it's our first one in the Premier League this season. Other than Lincoln, we'd gone 16 matches without a clean sheet, something like that,
Yeah.
which is something we've alluded to a lot. A team that's meant to be, backed on their defensive resilience often isn't that defensively resilient. It's strange, but
isn't that the funniest thing? How we often comment on how great we are defensively, and yet 16 games without a clean sheet, and it's like, how can we comment on how great we are defensively when that is the case? And even against Chelsea, we gave away chance after chance. We weren't resilient. We somehow conceded a goal and only one goal and scored 3. And even Brighton, we won that 3-1, but that easily could have been 3-3 at the end had it not been for Areola making some outstanding saves.
Yeah, I'm just glad this game we got through with the clean sheet, because this was a game where you look at it and you think, okay, you should be winning this quite comfortably at home.
It's potentially bananas for us, isn't it? It's one of those games where we're expected to win. Yeah. And in the second half, I know we've sounded like we've been a bit down on it, but we had some couple of really good opportunities. Antonio, God love him, he plays a brilliant pass for Soucek for his goal, has a pretty much identical opportunity, overhits it slightly for Bowen. And then he's completely asleep when the ball's played back for him for what should be a tap-in. It should be just hitting it first time. But I have no idea what he's doing. He just seems to just think, I've got plenty of time. I'm going to take 2 or 3 touches. And it's just like it was just one of those moments where you just go, that's Antonio in a nutshell.
It is the classic Antonio, isn't it? Thinking, I've got a bit of time. I'll just dawdle on it.
Yeah, and he had a decent game. He didn't do a huge amount, but he obviously got the assist for Soucek. Had that opportunity, and I think the main positive for me was when Kudus came on. I thought he looked really good,
really sharp.
A couple of moments where particularly got it on the right hand side. He beat 3 or 4 players.
Went on a messy run for some reason.
and that's I think why there are people saying, well, if you're going to drop someone, it's maybe Soucek, because it's the pace you can get. And Benrahma came on a lot bereft of confidence, couldn't really beat a man, and that's the problem. We don't have pace on that left wing. Well, we would arguably if Cornet was in any kind of form, but he's absolutely, again, he's shot to pieces. He is not the player that we saw at Burnley. So you kind of look and go, well, maybe kudos there, because again, in that second half, when we got a lot of the ball down that left hand side, but Paqueta is not the one. He's not going to be one wanting to make those runs down the wing.
No, he'll drift inside, won't he? That's what we saw a lot of the time when he does play it there. He'll drift in. Emerson will go over on the overlap, but then it becomes very congested in the middle, and it's just it's better if we have a natural left winger out there.
Became very slow down that left hand side, and when in fairness to Benrahma, when he came on, he tried to be positive, and there were spaces for him to run into, but he just was completely indecisive the entire time, and it just shot himself massively in the foot, because he got into these really good opportunities, but he either lacked the confidence to kind of go past the player, or the pace and strength to get past.
I just don't think he's a natural winger. I really think he's not. I don't think he's got the pace to play out there. I don't think he's got, like you mentioned, the confidence just isn't there. He can beat players. I've seen him beat players a lot of times, but it often comes in tight spaces where it's kind of slowed down. It's not him just outpacing someone down the line. That's not how he plays. So, when he's getting in those central areas, that's where he comes alive. And it's like a lot of players, like Paqueta drifting in. Even Bowen to an extent is better more centrally when he's got those positions to pick up where he's going to try and score a goal. So we don't really have that natural winger like a Doku, like someone that will scare a team.
Was that when we put Paqueta up top to get Kudus in the centre. It wasn't necessarily working as well as they hoped when they had Bowen as the centre forward. Paqueta was then going in the centre, and then they obviously had Kudus on the right. Now Kudus made some, like I said, he had that great run where he had where he absolutely charged for about 3 or 4 of their players. But obviously then Bowen and Paqueta were almost ineffective, so they put Paqueta as the centre forward, pretty much like he was for Leon, and that's potentially something that I could see happening. Is that I can see that Danny Ings has shown he just really isn't kind of working within this lone centre forward operation. The lip service pay to Mubama again is just showing again that we're not serious about youth. And I know people say, well, he has to earn it. It's like he has earned his opportunity. Like last season, he was phenomenal for the under-21s. When he came on for us, he made a difference in games, scored, in Europa League, Europa Conference, almost scored against Brentford when he came on in that game, and always looked a positive influence. And, Danny Ings has been terrible, and yet he can't get over Danny Ings. So I can see that if Antonio is a player to be dropped, that Paqueta may be utilised as he was for Leon, because he is that type of player who can hold up the ball.
Yeah.
And if you get Kudus there, you've got two players who can rotate. And it may essentially how Man City have used essentially a non-centre forward, a false nine, for a couple of seasons before Haaland. Keep Bowen in his strong position. You got three players that can naturally quite happily rotate. Does then again? It does highlight on the left-hand side we don't have a winger with pace, or we have a winger with confidence, which is unfortunate because our options are Benrahma, Fornals, and Cornet. Ideally, you'd probably want Cornet to play there because not only can he score goals, which he showed at Burnley, he has electric pace. Now, if you could have, a front four, arguably, of Bowen, Paqueta, Cornet, and Kudus all in form, that's quite a scary proposition because that's pace and goals right there and creativity. So, it's an interesting dilemma for Moyes. Does he persist with Antonio and deal with maybe the inconsistencies you get in game and just the inconsistency sometimes you get with him in his form? Do you try something different, go with a false nine, or do you just keep it as it is? Because if he's not going to change that midfield three, something's going to have to give as to how he uses Kudus, because
I
he's
think
not using left wing or.
I think that was just an experiment for when Antonio isn't playing, with Paqueta kind of playing as that CF, like false nine, because that's what I'm saying. It's just difficult to fit everyone in at the moment because we've got Alvarez, who's probably the one solidified with Ward-Prowse in midfield, and then you've got Kudus, Paqueta, Soucek, all that could play that other 8 role. And then if you do that if you're dropping Soucek and putting Paqueta in the middle or Kudus, you then have a left winger problem. So like it depends how we want to go about it. But based on the performance against Sheffield United, obviously got the 2-0 win, clean sheet, pretty comfortable throughout. Some good performances. So to wrap up, who was your kind of standout man of the match from yesterday's game?
I don't really know if anyone really stood out for me, to be honest. I'll probably just go to Soucek because of how maligned he's been. But again, he's probably the player that I would be against Newcastle. I would probably look to rotate out because I think if we can get some more dynamism in that midfield against Newcastle's, I think that's what we need to exploit Newcastle, because they are a quick team. I think we need someone who can also get in and out. I think when you use Soucek as he's been used in the recent game, and I think against Sheffield United, particularly in that first half, it was the Soucek that of old. He was getting in the area, causing problems, creating knockdowns, having opportunities at goal, and obviously got his goal from a run from deep. So I would say that, but as I say, he'd probably be the one player that I would maybe look to change in the next game because I think we need it to be a little bit more dynamic in the midfield when we play against Newcastle because of how they're set up. And I think having more dynamism in our midfield could help us exploit Newcastle as they go forward, because when they in transition they go forward in numbers, and if we can, again, from a transitional point of view, having the ability to do the same can really help us catch Newcastle out, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think someone like Kudus in there's a good shout, and it could be someone that's going to be utilised maybe in the Europa League on Thursdays. We've got that first as well, so it'll be interesting to see how Moyes approaches that, whether he goes, what he thinks is full strength, whether he kind of rotates a few players with Newcastle in mind on Sunday. But yeah, I thought Soucek had a very good,
completely different squad. It's just how it is, isn't it? When we have, and it's not a bad thing. We've got two teams now, arguably. So it'd be nice to see the likes of Mavropanos, Tilo, etc. in the in the game against it's Olympiacos, isn't it? We've got next.
I think it might be
Right?
Freiburg.
So yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's Freiburg.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it's good.
just it'd be interesting to see us utilising the second team, because it's something that we've always said for years we haven't got. So it's nice to see us be able to rotate squads and teams now, just to keep, for our bread and butter in the Premier League, to keep going, because we're 7th now. So compared to last year, what we're moaning about in terms of the football play is just little aesthetics, over a game, and these little things that are frustrating. Last year, we got
I mean, our start to the season has been incredible. The points that we've got, we've only lost 2 games against Liverpool and Man City. So, we're in a really, really good spot so far, on 13 points from 7 matches. Considering the teams we've played, that's pretty good going. And then obviously we've got the Europa League stuff to come up. We've got Newcastle and Villa, and then we've got some, much more beatable games again that you'd be targeting points from. So I hope we can keep the momentum going, especially in the Europa League as well, because it's not going to be easy to get out of the group. But we will preview that match in more detail coming up this week. But yeah, I think based on yesterday's performance, 2-0 win, clean sheet, some good solid performances overall. Could have done a bit more in the second half, but I think the players just got complacent, a bit of arrogance, and sometimes that happens in matches, but we came away with a win, 3 points, and yeah, that was it for the match. And yeah, hopefully we can get another win on Thursday night away at Freiburg, and then take that confidence into Newcastle next Sunday. And yeah, any last comments, Mike, from the match?
No, I think it is positive to see us hold out for a game, and when we did give away opportunities, we managed to hold firm, and players were putting their bodies on the line and getting blocks in, and things like that. And I think El Machin has already shown why we were so adamant he's a player that we needed to sign. His defensive work is brilliant. I think his yellow card was harsh. He won that ball brilliantly. It was a old school firm tackle.
Yeah, I think after he kind of pulled him down a little bit and tried to put his hand up to block it, I think that's what got the yellow card.
Yeah, because he raised his legs up slightly after he won it. But I think that's been one of the important things in how we've seen a resurgence in Soucek, is that we have this player who ultimately is going to sit there. One of the things that we mentioned all of last season is the indulgence of Declan Rice at some point had to stop, or should have stopped in a couple of points, because it was detrimental to some others. Especially if you're going to continue to pick them. So I think him coming in and Ward-Prowse have allowed that base in which for Soucek to get forward and to be a nuisance, because that's what he is. He is an absolute nuisance in the box. And when you get quality into the area like we did yesterday, particularly in that first half, he can really be a great foil for the likes of Antonio. He takes pressure off the strikers, because he is a decent finisher. So I think there are some very good, encouraging things going on at the moment. We are trying to change slowly but surely how we play.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some frustrations in some of what we do, but by and large, we're looking like we're getting better.
Yeah.
So long may it continue. I think the Villa and the Newcastle game, as you say, if they're the big ones now. If we can get results in those two, I think that really will cement that we're on for a positive season. And it also is at the moment 2 direct rivals for the positions that we're fighting for. So I think that would be a really good. I think that's probably the point of letting us know where we are as a team at this point in the season.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, hopefully we can keep it going. And yeah, let us know what you guys thought of the match yesterday in the comments down below. Were you impressed by anyone else that we haven't mentioned? And yeah, how do you see us moving forwards as a team with, trying to fit all of these players in? Because we've got a lot of options now, and it's up to Moyes to find the best solution for it all. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new around here. And Mike, until the next one.
Come on, you Irons.